Okay, now that the belt guard has been removed, we can now proceed with belt tensioning. The manual calls for 1/8 of an inch of belt deflection for every inch of span in between your flywheel and your pulley assembly on your motor. That also equates in the manual to a properly tensioned belt having 8 pounds of spring tension on a belt tensioning gauge. Most of us in the field don't have the luxury of having a tensioning gauge, so we're going to give you a few methods that are probably a little bit more attainable for you. The first method I'd like to show you is what we call basically roll on, roll off. And what we'll do is we'll loosen the belt assembly and roll the belt off of the pulley assembly on the motor. Careful not to get your fingers caught up in there. Since you've already made your mark on the deck of the pump itself, or the motor rather, we slide the motor back. I like to try for about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, depending on how loose the belt was to begin with. And then you can retighten one of your bolts. I like to tighten one in the back corner. That's because of where I'm working. Hold the motor still, maybe even do 2. Hold the motor still. And then you can roll the belt by pushing the belt down into the top of the sheave and carefully rotating that around. Be sure not to get your fingers pinched in there. You should be able to roll that around until the belt is on. Check that for proper alignment. And there you go. That's nicely tensioned. That's a good way to do it. Okay, another method that you can use. Loosen your bolts. Alright. Belt, you've already made a mark on your deck. You can have a friend come and help you at this point. Simply grab a hold of the motor and pull backwards. Give it a nice good yank there until you've attained good tension on the belt side. Set your bolt in the corner, check for alignment. Once you're straight with your mark on your deck, set another one of the bolts. Hold the motor still. Check your tension. You're properly tensioned there. Everything's nice and straight. You can go ahead and lock down all the rest of the bolts. And then our final method that I'll use sometimes when I'm in the field by myself. I'll actually use a piece of 2x4. And if you're ginger with it, you can take a piece of 2x4, brace it against the bottom of the pump casting itself, and carefully move the motor assembly back. You want to make sure you don't apply too much pressure to a start cap housing. Reach over to the other side. Apply a little bit of tension. Check it against your mark. Straighten the motor up. Tighten down a couple of bolts here in the back. Hold everything still. Okay. Check your tension. Looks good. You can go ahead and tighten up all your bolts at that point. Get them good and snug. And before I put the belt guard back on the machine, I always like to plug the power back into the wall. Keep my hands back and tools back, obviously, but I like to start the machine and run it a little bit without a belt guard on it, so I can look at the belt to be sure that the alignment is correct. If everything looks like it's okay, go ahead, shut the power back to the off position, unplug from the wall again, and then reinstall your belt guard. Okay? So, it's not something that has to happen every day, but every couple of months, this is something that you should be looking at while you're performing regular maintenance on your air compressor.